Where we live in Italy, we have a problem with wild boars that come. And the problem is we have a fence around our property, but the boars are very creative and they find ways of getting through our fences. So we have to keep repairing our fences to keep the wild boars from coming in and doing all kinds of damage, just like arbitration clauses.
A contract is a grouping of rights and obligations, all of which are bounded or rendered enforceable by the form of dispute resolution that will apply if the terms are not respected. In international contracts, parties often include an arbitration clause as a means of putting up such a boundary around or fencing in their contractual property. This is because, in addition to neutrality, arbitration awards are much easier to enforce than foreign court judgments in most countries. But this only works, and here's the important part, if the fence the parties put up around their rights and obligations, the arbitration clause, doesn't create any problems of its own. If you're agreeing to ICDR arbitration or international arbitration under any set of rules in an international transaction, what do you need to know to have the strongest possible fence around your contractual rights? Model clauses. Why waste time reinventing the wheel and creating a clause that's potentially risky when all you need to do is cut and paste from the institution's website? Like all leading arbitration institutions, the ICDR has a convenient link at the top of its website where parties can find model clauses to use. Click on the link and you get a short and simple clauses ready for inclusion in an international contract, including a clause that requires mediation before initiating arbitration. Personally, I prefer that one, because with just a couple of mouse clicks, you've got a valid arbitration clause and an increased likelihood of settling any disputes early. There are a number of reasons that cutting and pasting model clauses will usually represent the best possible lawyering for an international contract. The text of the clauses is produced by experts at enforcing arbitration awards in different jurisdictions around the world. Model clauses are often tested in the courts of different countries, unlike customized clauses drafted by the parties' lawyers, which are unlikely to have come up in previous court decisions. You can find model clauses already translated in some of the most common languages used in international commercial transactions. Most arbitration institutions, including the ICDR, will give contracting parties free advice about using or adapting their model clauses for particular contracts or circumstances, or when there are enforcement problems. And you don't have to pay lawyers for any of this. Or if you are a lawyer, you can do a great job with minimal work. When you don't use model clauses, the likelihood of problems being created increases with each idiosyncrasy the parties include. You'll find you'll need to constantly repair your arbitration clauses to fill the holes that appear as a result of what is basically creative lawyering. Take, for example, the simple issue of translating a clause so that it can be used in a contract with foreign parties. Here's a complex 7-paragraph arbitration clause that was part of one company's standard terms and conditions of sale. When it was translated into French by a skilled lawyer, a slight variation was made. According to the French Cassation, the Supreme Court of one of the most pro-arbitration countries in the world, this slight change deprived the seller of the right to insist on arbitration. So their dispute had to be resolved in the French courts. What you need to know about the ICDR is about international arbitration generally, and that is that drafting long and complicated arbitration clauses is often creating opportunities for opposing parties to poke holes in the fence that you worked hard to create by including arbitration.
Why expose yourself to the hassle, the costs, and the risks of doing your own idiosyncratic arbitration clause? Over here, we have wild boars. And they're going to find a way to get through. If you give them the opportunity, they're going to get in.